In 2012, Stewart Butterfield was trying to build a video game. He had already tried once before and failed. From the wreckage of his first game, Game Neverending, came Flickr, which he sold to Yahoo. Now he was trying again with a game called Glitch. Glitch was a massively multiplayer online game. It failed to find an audience, and Butterfield shut it down in 2012. But during the development of Glitch, the team had built an internal messaging tool to communicate across the studio. When Glitch died, that messaging tool survived. Butterfield looked at what his team had built and saw something more valuable than the game they had been trying to make. 4 years later, Salesforce acquired Slack for $27.7 billion, the biggest software acquisition in Salesforce history. Built from the ashes of a video game nobody played. And if there is a company you want us to unpack next, drop it in the comments right now. We read every single one. This was not the first time Butterfield had pivoted from failure to something bigger. The Flickr story followed the same pattern. Game Neverending built a photo sharing feature as a side tool. The game failed. The side tool became Flickr, sold to Yahoo. Butterfield had now done this twice. Butterfield was not lucky. He was paying attention. When Game Neverending failed, he asked what was still valuable. The answer was Flickr. When Glitch failed, he asked the same question. The answer was the messaging tool. Most founders treat failure as the end of the story. Butterfield treated it as research. The wreckage of one idea contained the seeds of the next. But here is what made Slack different from every other workplace messaging tool that existed at the time. When Butterfield launched Slack in 2013, workplace communication was dominated by email. Email had been the primary channel for decades. It was asynchronous, interruptive, hard to search, and designed for one-to-one rather than team conversation. Slack was built around channels, persistent, searchable, organized spaces for conversation grouped by project, team, or topic. Instead of a thread buried in an inbox, a Slack channel was a shared space that gave the whole team context. Anyone joining a project could scroll back through the channel and understand everything that had happened. The onboarding was deliberately frictionless. Slack's growth strategy was to get teams rather than individuals to adopt it. If one person used it, the tool had no value. If a whole team used it, the value was immediate. The product spread through organizations the way a virus spreads through a population. One team adopted it, they talked to another team. That team tried it. The word-of-mouth growth rate in Slack's early months was unlike anything the enterprise software industry had seen. Slack launched publicly in August 2013. 8,000 companies signed up in the first 24 hours. Within a month, it had 30,000 daily active users. The growth was so steep, the servers struggled to keep up. By 2015, Slack was adding over $1 million in new contracts every 11 days. It reached $1 billion valuation faster than almost any software company in history. By 2019, it went public on the New York Stock Exchange. The growth was driven almost entirely by word-of-mouth and product-led adoption, rather than traditional sales. Slack did not need a large sales force because the product sold itself the moment a team used it. But here is where the story gets complicated. In 2017, Microsoft launched Teams, a direct competitor to Slack built into the Microsoft 365 suite that most large organizations already paid for. Teams was not necessarily a better product, but it was free to organizations that already had Microsoft 365 licenses. And free, bundled with something you already buy, is an almost impossible competitor to fight. Slack filed an antitrust complaint against Microsoft in 2020. The complaint had merit, but the market kept moving. Microsoft's distribution advantage was too significant to overcome through product quality alone. In December 2020, Salesforce announced it would acquire Slack for $27.7 billion. It was the largest acquisition in Salesforce history and one of the largest in enterprise software. For Butterfield, who had started with a failing video game, the outcome was extraordinary. The Slack story contains 3 principles worth understanding. The most valuable thing you build might not be what you set out to build. Butterfield set out to build games. He built Flickr and Slack. Both came from noticing what was actually working inside a failing project. In whatever you are building right now, what is the side tool or the unexpected user behavior that might be more valuable than the main thing? Distribution is the product. Slack's growth was built into the product itself. You could not use it alone. Every adoption required a team. Every team was a distribution node. When you are building your next product, ask not just what it does, but how it grows. What is the mechanism that makes one user become 10? Being better is not always enough. Slack was widely considered a better product than Teams when Teams launched. It did not matter. Microsoft's distribution advantage overcame any product quality gap. Being better is necessary, but not sufficient. Who controls the distribution channel your product lives inside? What happens if they compete with you? Every video on Unpack Business goes inside the companies most people use every day without understanding the decisions that created them. The video game that nobody played but left behind a $27 billion messaging tool. The pivot pattern that worked twice. The distribution mechanism built into the product itself. These are not accidents. They are lessons. If you want to keep understanding how the world's most powerful companies actually work, subscribe. And if the Slack story got you thinking about another company you want us to take apart, tell us in the comments. We build our content from what you ask for. We will see you in the next one.